While we casually drop $5 on specialty coffees today, our grandparents faced periods when real coffee became an unattainable luxury.
Through economic depressions, wartime rationing, and supply chain collapses, ingenious alternatives emerged from kitchen cupboards across America. These weren't just sad substitutes, they became cultural touchstones that sustained communities through difficult times. Let's discover these forgotten beverages that kept spirits up when coffee prices soared beyond reach. Chicory coffee, the New Orleans necessity. When coffee imports dwindled during the Civil War and again during the Great Depression, Americans turned to a humble roadside plant that transformed bitter times into something remarkably satisfying: chicory root. This tenacious weed, with its vivid blue flowers, concealed a remarkable secret beneath the soil. Unlike coffee beans requiring tropical conditions, chicory grew wild along American roadsides, making it freely available even to the poorest families during economic collapse. The roots, once roasted and ground, produced a deep, rich brew with earthy notes that complemented the ever-dwindling supplies of real coffee when used as an extender. What made chicory particularly valuable was its complete lack of caffeine, allowing it to be consumed by children, the elderly, and those with heart conditions who needed to avoid stimulants. During the rationing of the 1940s, doctor-prescribed coffee substitutes often featured chicory prominently for this very reason. The cultural impact proved most profound in New Orleans, where chicory coffee became so beloved that it remained the signature flavor long after coffee supplies normalized. Today's famous New Orleans coffee shops still proudly serve chicory blends as premium products, a remarkable transformation from economic necessity to cultural treasure. Dandelion coffee, the backyard brew. In America's hardest-hit communities during the Depression, an unexpected source of comfort emerged from what most considered a lawn nuisance: the common dandelion. This ubiquitous weed harbored a remarkable secret beneath its sunny yellow flowers, roots that, when properly roasted, created a rich, satisfying brew reminiscent of coffee. Unlike imported beans vulnerable to price spikes and supply disruptions, dandelions grew abundantly in every yard, vacant lot, and roadside across America. Harvesting required nothing more than a garden fork and an hour of labor, making this truly the people's beverage during times of extreme hardship. What made dandelion coffee particularly valuable was its remarkable health benefits, containing nutrients that supported liver function and digestion, benefits real coffee couldn't claim. Depression-era community health workers often recommended dandelion coffee specifically for those suffering nutritional deficiencies when quality food was scarce. Perhaps most importantly, dandelion coffee provided more than just a beverage, it created purpose. Families would gather for dandelion digs, turning economic necessity into community events that strengthened neighborhood bonds during uncertain times. The shared experience of transforming a common weed into a treasured comfort became an emblem of American resourcefulness that defined a generation. Sassafras tea, the Southern staple. While urban centers fretted over coffee prices, rural Southern communities turned to their forests for a flavorful alternative that cost nothing but the effort of digging sassafras root tea. This vibrant beverage, with its distinctive root beer-like flavor, had been a traditional spring tonic for generations before economic necessity made it a daily coffee replacement. Unlike many foraged plants with limited growing ranges, sassafras trees flourished throughout the American South and parts of the Midwest, making this solution widely available precisely in regions hardest hit by economic downturns. The distinctive roots could be harvested year-round, dried, and stored for months without losing their aromatic qualities. What made sassafras tea particularly valuable was its reputation as a blood purifier and general health tonic, providing psychological comfort during times when medical care became unaffordable. The ritual spring sassafras brewing represented optimism and renewal during the bleakest periods of the Depression. The cultural significance extended beyond the beverage itself. Sassafras harvesting knowledge became a tangible connection between generations, with grandparents teaching grandchildren identification and sustainable harvesting techniques that had sustained their own parents through previous hard times. This transmission of practical woodland knowledge proved invaluable as economic circumstances pushed many families toward greater self-sufficiency. Peanut coffee, the innovative alternative. When coffee imports collapsed during wartime shipping disruptions, the inventive mind of George Washington Carver provided an unexpected solution from America's own fields: peanut coffee. This remarkable preparation, created by carefully roasting peanuts to develop coffee-like aromatics without burning, delivered a satisfying alternative from a crop already abundant in American agriculture. Unlike imported coffee beans vulnerable to submarine attacks on shipping lanes, peanuts grew plentifully across the southern United States, providing a stable, domestic source for this essential comfort beverage. The processing required no specialized equipment beyond standard kitchen tools, making production possible even in homes with minimal resources. What made peanut coffee particularly valuable was its substantial nutritional contribution, proteins and healthy fats entirely absent from real coffee. During rationing periods when meat and dairy became strictly limited, the additional nutrition from this morning beverage helped support the energy needs of workers in essential war industries. The development and promotion of peanut coffee exemplified the era's patriotic innovation, with agricultural bulletins teaching preparation techniques as both a practical solution and a way civilians could support the war effort through reduced dependence on imports. This fusion of practical need with patriotic duty helped overcome initial resistance to alternative beverages, creating cultural acceptance that sustained communities through extended shortages. Rye coffee, the European tradition. As coffee became an unattainable luxury during successive economic crises, many Eastern European immigrant communities introduced American neighbors to a traditional alternative from the old country, roasted rye coffee. This simple preparation transformed an abundant grain into a rich, complex beverage that provided comfort without the economic burden of imported beans. Unlike most crops requiring specific growing conditions, rye thrived in poor soils and harsh climates across America, often succeeding where other grains failed. This resilience ensured supplies remained available even during agricultural disruptions, providing stability when other food systems collapsed. What made rye coffee particularly significant was its deep cultural connections, allowing immigrant families to maintain important traditions while adapting to economic realities. The familiar aroma of roasting rye provided psychological comfort and cultural continuity during deeply uncertain times. The preparation process itself, careful roasting until the grains reached a dark chocolate color without burning, became a cherished skill passed between generations and across community lines. This knowledge exchange exemplified the cultural fusion occurring in American neighborhoods as economic necessity broke down previously rigid ethnic boundaries in the shared pursuit of affordable comfort. Apple coffee, the orchard offering. When coffee disappeared from rural store shelves during the Depression, orchard communities discovered an ingenious alternative hiding in plain sight: apple coffee. This remarkable preparation transformed dried apple cores and peels typically discarded as waste into a sweet, aromatic brew that helped farm families weather economic collapse without sacrificing their morning ritual. Unlike ingredients requiring garden space or cash outlays, apple scraps were abundant byproducts of autumn preservation activities, available in quantity as families processed apple harvests for winter storage. The careful drying and slow roasting process developed rich caramel notes reminiscent of coffee's depth, but with a naturally sweet finish requiring no precious sugar. What made apple coffee particularly valuable was its completely waste-free nature, representing the era's commitment to absolute resource efficiency. The used grounds, after serving as beverage base, could still be added to livestock feed or compost, creating a completely circular system. The seasonal rhythm of apple coffee production became woven into farm community calendars, with autumn apple processing including the careful setting aside of cores and peels specifically for coffee production. This integration of beverage supply into existing agricultural cycles exemplified the holistic thinking that helped rural communities maintain higher levels of self-sufficiency during economic disruptions. Almond coffee, the California creation. When World War II disrupted coffee imports and instituted strict rationing, California's growing almond industry discovered a valuable alternative use for irregular nuts, unsuitable for standard retail almond coffee. This innovative preparation transformed agricultural seconds into a rich, aromatic beverage that provided both comfort and nutrition during uncertain times. Unlike tropical coffee beans vulnerable to shipping blockades, almonds grew domestically in California's expanding orchards, ensuring stable supply unaffected by submarine warfare. The careful roasting process developed deep, complex flavors reminiscent of coffee, but with a distinctive nutty character many came to appreciate on its own merits. What made almond coffee particularly valuable was its substantial nutritional contribution, providing healthy fats and proteins entirely absent from real coffee. During periods when protein sources were carefully rationed, the additional nutrition from this morning beverage helped support the energy needs of industrial workers crucial to the war effort. The development of almond coffee exemplified the era's innovative spirit, with agricultural marketing boards actively promoting alternative uses for their products as both practical solutions and patriotic adaptations. This convergence of agricultural interest, consumer need, and national purpose created rapid adoption of what might otherwise have been rejected as too unfamiliar. Goldenrod tea, the indigenous inspiration. While urban populations worried about coffee prices, rural communities with connections to indigenous knowledge turned to abundant wild plants for flavorful alternatives, particularly goldenrod tea. This vibrant yellow beverage, made from the late summer flowers of this common perennial, provided a bright, subtly sweet option when store-bought beverages became unaffordable. Unlike cultivated crops requiring garden space and tending, goldenrod grew freely in meadows, roadsides and field edges across America, available for nothing more than the effort of harvesting. The simple preparation, drying the golden blossoms and steeping in hot water, required no special equipment or techniques. What made goldenrod tea particularly valuable was its long-standing reputation for respiratory support and allergy relief, providing a health-promoting alternative rather than a mere substitute. During periods when medical care became financially out of reach, beverages with therapeutic reputations gained special significance in family wellness strategies. The harvest itself became an important seasonal marker, with families gathering the bright yellow blossoms in late summer as part of annual preparation for winter. This integration of beverage gathering into the natural seasonal rhythm created important structural continuity during times when economic circumstances remained unpredictable and chaotic. Hickory coffee, the woodsman's brew. When imported coffee became an unaffordable luxury during economic downturns, rural communities throughout the eastern woodlands revived an indigenous-inspired alternative from the forest itself, hickory coffee. This distinctive preparation, made from carefully roasted nut meats and sometimes the shells, produced a rich, aromatic brew with subtle smoky notes that sustained families through the hardest times. Unlike agricultural crops requiring tended fields, hickory nuts grew abundantly in natural forests across eastern North America, available for nothing more than the effort of gathering. The processing, while labor-intensive, could be accomplished with simple household tools, turning freely available forest resources into a satisfying daily comfort. What made hickory coffee particularly valuable was its substantial nutritional contribution. The high fat and protein content of the nuts created a beverage that actually provided meaningful calories and nutrients. Unlike true coffee, during periods of food insecurity, this added nutrition from a morning beverage made a significant difference in family well-being. The knowledge surrounding hickory coffee harvesting and preparation created important bonds between generations, with elders teaching young family members the identification, gathering techniques, and processing methods that had sustained previous generations through hard times. This transmission of practical forest knowledge became a form of resilience education with value extending far beyond the beverage itself. Carob coffee, the desert adaptation. When wartime rationing made both coffee and chocolate rare luxuries, southwestern communities with Spanish connections introduced an overlooked alternative from arid, adapted trees, carob coffee. This Mediterranean tradition, using the roasted, ground pods of the carob tree, provided a naturally sweet, chocolatey brew that offered comfort without requiring precious ration points. Unlike coffee requiring tropical conditions, carob trees thrived in the American Southwest, initially planted by Spanish missionaries and later becoming naturalized in some areas. The simple preparation, harvesting the mature pods, removing seeds, roasting and grinding could be accomplished with basic kitchen equipment. What made carob coffee particularly valuable was its natural sweetness, requiring little or no sugar at a time when sweeteners were strictly rationed. The chocolate-like flavor made it especially popular with children, providing a morale-boosting treat that required no special ingredients beyond the pods themselves. The cultural connection to Spanish colonial history gave carob coffee a unique regional identity that elevated it beyond mere substitute status. For communities with Hispanic heritage, the preparation connected them to ancestral knowledge and traditions, providing cultural continuity during times of material scarcity and uncertainty. Oat coffee, the breakfast blend. When coffee prices soared beyond reach during the Depression, resourceful families discovered a satisfying alternative already present in nearly every kitchen: oat coffee. This simple preparation transformed ordinary rolled oats through careful roasting into a rich, nutty beverage that helped maintain cherished morning rituals without straining devastated household budgets. Unlike exotic imports vulnerable to price speculation and supply disruptions, oats grew abundantly across America's agricultural heartland, ensuring stable availability even during economic collapse. The careful toasting process developed surprising depth and complexity from this humble breakfast staple, particularly when enhanced with a pinch of molasses or cinnamon. What made oat coffee particularly valuable was its remarkable affordability. Ordinary rolled oats cost pennies per pound when coffee demanded precious quarters and dollars beyond many families' reach. This accessibility ensured that even those hardest hit by unemployment could maintain the psychological comfort of a hot morning beverage. The dual-purpose nature of oats serving as both breakfast porridge and coffee alternative exemplified the era's focus on maximum efficiency from every resource. This practical adaptability embodied the resilient mindset that helped ordinary Americans navigate the extraordinary challenges of economic devastation with ingenuity and grace. If you're finding these forgotten beverages fascinating, imagine what other lost knowledge might help us navigate today's uncertainties. These weren't just desperate substitutes, they represented generations of practical wisdom we'd be wise to reclaim. Let's continue exploring the ingenious solutions our grandparents developed during challenging times. Cottonseed coffee, the southern innovation. When coffee imports faltered during blockades and economic disruptions, southern communities connected to cotton production discovered an unexpected use for what had been considered a byproduct: cottonseed coffee. This remarkable preparation transformed seeds formerly used only for oil or animal feed into a satisfying beverage that helped families maintain mourning rituals through difficult times. Unlike imported coffee requiring foreign exchange and vulnerable supply chains, cottonseed was abundantly available throughout the Cotton Belt, often available to farm families at no additional cost. The careful hulling, roasting, and grinding process developed a surprisingly rich flavor profile with nutty, slightly sweet characteristics. What made cottonseed coffee particularly valuable was its connection to existing agricultural systems requiring no additional land, water, or resources beyond what was already dedicated to cotton production. This efficiency perfectly aligned with the waste not philosophy that defined American resourcefulness during periods of scarcity. The development and refinement of cottonseed coffee preparation techniques demonstrated the remarkable innovation that often emerges from necessity, with regional variations evolving to reflect local preferences and available complementary ingredients. What began as simple substitution evolved into cultural expression, with distinctive preparations becoming points of regional pride and identity. Sunflower seed coffee, the homestead harvest. When coffee lay beyond financial reach during the Depression, rural families discovered a remarkable alternative growing tall in their gardens: sunflower seed coffee. This distinctive preparation transformed the abundant seeds of this Native American plant into a rich, nutty brew that provided comfort without requiring precious cash resources. Unlike exotic imports vulnerable to international disruptions, sunflowers thrived in home gardens across America, producing hundreds of seeds from each massive flower head. The careful hulling, roasting, and grinding process developed complex flavors from this abundant and easily grown resource. What made sunflower coffee particularly valuable was its integrated role in homestead efficiency. The plants provided beautiful flowers, nutritious seeds for eating, hulls for chicken bedding, stalks for kindling, and with this preparation, a satisfying daily beverage. This multi-purpose use exemplified the waste not philosophy essential for survival during economic collapse. The impressive visual impact of sunflowers, often growing over 8 feet tall with dinner plate-sized blooms, provided psychological benefits beyond mere sustenance, bringing beauty and optimism to desperate circumstances. This combination of practical value and emotional uplift made sunflower coffee a particularly holistic response to Dust Bowl-era hardship. Victory Tea, the patriotic blend. When wartime rationing limited coffee to mere ounces per week, a remarkable grassroots movement emerged in gardens across America. Victory Tea. This wasn't a single plant, but rather a patriotic practice of blending locally available herbs into distinctive family beverages that freed commercial supplies for military use while maintaining home front morale. Unlike imported beverages vulnerable to submarine attacks and shipping disruptions, Victory Tea ingredients grew in backyard gardens, window boxes, and community plots across the nation. The typical blend combined mint for refreshing flavor, rose hips for vitamin C, chamomile for calming effects, and whatever else flourished locally. What made Victory Tea particularly significant was its prominent place in government propaganda campaigns, with posters proclaiming "Your tea garden fights for freedom," and extension agents teaching cultivation classes in communities nationwide. The preparation and enjoyment became acts of patriotic participation, transforming daily beverage routines into meaningful contributions to the war effort. The personalized nature of Victory Tea, with each family developing their own signature blend based on available plants, flavor preferences, created important psychological ownership during a time when so many aspects of daily life were restricted by rationing and regulation. These distinctive family blends often became cherished traditions that continued long after peace returned, preserving the memory of shared sacrifice through difficult years. Our grandparents didn't just survive hard times, they thrived through ingenuity. Try these forgotten drinks yourself and discover that true wealth isn't what you can buy, but what you can create. Which of these drinks will you try first? Let us know below.
Hit that like button and subscribe for more forgotten knowledge from the past.